What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Cold Takes from the Land.
Cold Takes from the Land, where you get the coldest takes from the hottest Cleveland sports fans.
It's Raiders week, buddy. We got the Browns going into Vegas playing the Raiders, and today's episode is a little special because we have a special guest today. A good friend of ours by the name of old Logan, I call him Logie Bear, is a diehard, if you want to call him that, Raiders fan. Say hello to the people, Logan.
How's everyone doing?
Oh, we're
doing great.
We're doing better today than we were yesterday because, goddamn it, we're injured, but you're injured too.
Yeah, we are pretty good.
I'm still doing just about as bad.
Well, more optimism, at least on our end, you know?
That's true. Logan is a freaking Oakland Raiders fan. He's not a Las Vegas Raiders fan, okay?
You know what? That's fair.
Freaking Oakland, man. Losing all their damn teams.
God.
Yeah. No more teams left in Oakland.
Yeah, good thing
No,
you're not an
they
Ace
lost.
fan.
Yeah, that sucks, man.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to get your thoughts, Logan. You know, not necessarily just this game. How's your feelings towards the Raiders through these first 3 games of the season?
You know, I felt good coming into the season. I thought we would probably be about 7-8 wins going off of what we were doing last year because I felt like we downgraded at quarterback. But through the first 3 weeks, it's very up and down. We just lost to the Panthers last week. But, you know, we go ahead and beat Baltimore the week prior. Very, very up and down emotional season so far.
That's wild. Are you guys sitting at what, 1-2? Or are you 2-1?
1-2.
1-2, okay.
God, and that one wins the Ravens. That's an interesting.
It's a hell of a win.
Yeah.
But you guys are coming off of a week where you got red rocketed, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it
Got rocket
was.
popped.
Weren't ready for it. Took us off guard.
Hey, nobody was ready for it. Shit.
Yeah, maybe watch him be this year's Joe Flacco. Just old man quarterback comes in and starts tearing it up.
Hey, man. Any of these QBs that played like the fucking 2010s AFC North defenses, they look at these teams now and they're like, oh, I can dice these boys up.
That is true. That was kind of something I was thinking of. I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I feel like with the way defense is played nowadays, and you know how you noticed that the passing game this year has been a bit less effective. I feel like the more old school, like 2000s, early 2010s style, you know, big armed pocket passers with like minimal athleticism, but a willingness to just rip it down the field. I feel like those guys are going to have like a little bit of a resurgence. That's why, like, you saw Joe Flacco have success last year. That's why you saw Andy Dalton have success last week. So it's just an urge. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I mean, it is weird thinking about, like, it almost seems like a lot of these guys, granted, there are a lot of young quarterbacks now that are playing, but like the veterans, whenever they do step in, they just know where the ball needs to be. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think it is, a lot of it's anticipating throws. And like back then, obviously, you had guys like Revis, you had safeties like Ed Reed and Palomalu, guys that were just all over the ball. So you really had to anticipate where the guy was going to be on his route to get the ball there. And I think you're seeing a lot of guys like Anthony Richardson, even up until this week, he finally broke out. But Daniels for the Commanders, like, these guys are going to have some growing pains for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even still, I still think Jaden Daniels will have his issues every so often. But
Yeah.
one last thing I did want to ask you, Logan, before we get into our 3 keys to victory for our teams here. So Gardner Minshew, wow, numbers-wise, he hasn't been really bad this year. I wouldn't say he's been great. He's got a hell of a completion percentage. But, 747 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He did get benched towards the end of the game last week, and Aiden O'Connell did come in and he put up some decent numbers, but they are going back to Gardner Minshew to start this week as you guys are at home against us. Do you feel that was the right move, or did you want to go back to Aiden O'Connell?
I mean, depends what the coach is seeing in practice. From what I see on the field, if we're trying to win more games, I would probably go with Aiden O'Connell. Just because I feel like he's a little bit more willing to, like you said prior, just stretch the ball down the field a little bit more. Gardner's pretty much known for his just little dink and dunk tendencies. And for us to beat you guys, I definitely do feel like we're going to need to throw the ball downfield a little bit more.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree there. So And that's a good segue for us to get in. As you guys know, we do our 3 keys to victory. Obviously, it's a little different this week because we have a opposing perspective. So the way we'll do it is me and Austin will each give our first key, then I'll have Logan give his first key to victory, and then we'll do that through the 3 keys of victory. We'll talk it out. We'll talk about good stuff. And yeah, let's get into it. Austin, I want you to lead off here. Call you Stephen Quan. You're leading off here. What's your first key to victory for the old Brownies?
Sounds good, buddy. I'm going to say this is an obvious one, but we haven't said it yet. I'm just going to say the offensive line needs to hold up. We're down a couple guys. Jack Conklin's still not going to play this week. Jedrick Wills can fuck all the way off. Who else are we missing? Who's starting? We have Hudson, I'm assuming, at left tackle again?
The presumed starting 5 on the offensive line is James Hudson, Joel Bitonio, Ethan Pocic, Zach Zinter, and DeJuan Jones. However, I've heard a few things that they could potentially try out the Bitonio at left tackle, Pocic at guard, Harris at center, and then Zinter at right guard, and then kind of rotate DeJuan Jones and James Hudson at right tackle, depending on how DeJuan looks since he's been in such rough shape. So that's a possibility too. But either way, it's not great.
That might be preferable, honestly. I mean, Nick Harris isn't great by any means, but he's a decent guy that can come in and fill in. I think Bitonio at left tackle is probably the way to go because Hudson's pretty awful at right tackle, let alone left. So, like you said, maybe split the snaps between Hudson and Jones at right tackle. Start Bitonio at left tackle because our left tackle situation's been the absolute worst in the NFL so far, I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I would say Hudson's a little better at right tackle just because he's not the primary blindside protector. So he might fare a little bit better at right tackle, especially with the injuries regarding the Raiders. With that, I'll get into my first key to victory because it was essentially the same thing. I titled it differently. Mine was wrap Deshaun Watson and bubble wrap. But essentially equates to the same thing. This offensive line has to have some sort of protection no matter what version of the lineup you have. And I do think that is more likely as of a few hours ago because the Raiders will be without Max Crosby. So their main threat on the defensive line, of course, is going to be Christian Wilkins. And, of course, you got Tyree Wilson, the first-round draft pick last year, who hasn't really done a whole lot in his NFL career. But, first-round talent, you never know. And then, obviously, they have some other guys on that line. The one I'm thinking of in particular, Jenkins, I know has some potential there to him to make some things happen. But with Crosby being out, that definitely fares better for our makeshift offensive line will be because our problem, of course, has been defending the edge, and this will be by far the worst edge group we will face this year since they will not have Max Crosby. So hopefully that'll make it easier on the tackles and will allow our veteran interior linemen like Pocic and Bitonio to really zero in on Christian Wilkins to prevent him from potentially wrecking the game. Of course, we do have another rookie out there, Zach Zinter, who I actually like a lot, so I'm kind of excited to see him out there. But it is going to be interesting, and I definitely agree with you there that our offensive line absolutely has to hold up no matter what. Do you have anything you want to add on the line before I kick it over to Logie Bear?
Yeah. I mean, if we don't hold up, granted, we already are all kind of very down on the offensive line, but if we can't hold up against these 2 edge rushers they have going this week, I mean, we might as well freaking pack it in because it ain't getting any easier the rest of the season. If we can't block this team, we're not going to block anybody.
Yeah, before I kick it to Logan, I will point out, of course, Tyree Wilson, who I mentioned a bit earlier. He's got an average, slightly below average grade on PFF this year, just using this for an example. But their opposing edge rusher, Janarius Robinson, has a 38 defensive grade, which ranks him 103rd out of 105 qualifying edge rushers. So if we can't block that guy, I'm concerned. And with that... All right, Logan.
Well, maybe I do have one more thing to add, actually. Okay, so now that you're saying that, maybe we do play, honestly, Bitonio just at his regular left guard spot because, I mean, they have Wilkins, like you said, is going to be probably the biggest threat by far on that defensive line. So maybe we don't stretch him all the way out to tackle if you're going to have to really block the interior.
Yeah. No, I definitely would like guys at their more natural position. So I would agree with you there. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. But all right, Logan, I'm very curious to hear it from the Raiders' perspective. What's your first key to victory for the Raiders to get this W against our Browns?
So the number one thing for me is the ability to stay with the Browns wide receivers. So the Raiders say have a problem downfield coverage a little bit this season. We have Nate Hobbs, Jack Jones, and Jacorian Bennett as our primary three corners. They're not very physical guys. The Browns have very physical wide receivers with Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy. We will definitely struggle downfield, but if we're able to jam them at the line somehow, I definitely believe we're going to be able to make a big impact.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you there because, like you said, you do have more speedy corners, and I would definitely, especially Amari Cooper, someone I would think of, that could definitely take advantage of that. And Jerry Jeudy's been playing well this year, but it has been kind of weird. Because Amari Cooper obviously had those rough first two games, and I just now realize this, Logan, you are very familiar with Amari Cooper as he was a Raider for a good chunk of time. Do you have any sort of expectation or impression for how you feel the Raiders might attack him, as he's of course our number one receiver?
I think we might try to give him a little bit of a cushion off the line, but again, I don't feel like we have the corners to give him that amount of cushion. I expect him to have over 100 yards and probably a touchdown this week.
Oh, you think he's going to go off?
I think he's going to have a very good game, yes.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, it's definitely will be an interesting matchup, and I'm kind of intrigued to see. And I think a lot of that also depends on how protected Deshaun Watson can be. But with that, let's move into key to victory number 2. What do you got, Austin?
So actually, touching on Amari Cooper, that was my second key to victory. So Amari Cooper needs to stay hot. Last week, he came off his best game of the year by far with the 2 touchdowns and 86 receiving yards. I think if we can keep that wavelength going with Watson and Cooper there, we just need to keep them on the same page, especially with Njoku going to be missing another game and our offensive line still not healthy. So attack them deep downfield if we can. I'm not expecting a damn Houston Texans-like performance from last year, but if Logan, he was saying, if we can get him around that 100-yard mark, I think we have a good chance to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can't agree with you more there. Amari Cooper and the receiving game in general, obviously, is a big factor in our ability to win these games. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy's played well, but obviously the main story last week was Amari Cooper's ability to return to form. And like Logan was saying before, and like you're saying, if he can come out and play really well and make it easier on Deshaun Watson, definitely is a big help for this team. But with that, I'll get into my second key to victory, and mine being, I feel like we're going to say this all year, or at least until Chubb's back, and that is going to be, we got to get this damn run game going. I don't
think it's happening, buddy.
Well, you know what? I'm going to say it, but either way, we got to get Jerome Ford going.
Off with Logan and I back there.
You know what? Maybe it could be that could be the case, but I'm gonna be hopeful. Got to get Jerome Ford in space. We got to get him going. Got to get him to be as explosive as he can. I think Deontay Foreman has got to be involved more. I even think Deshaun Watson, even though he says he ain't a running back, I don't give a fuck. You're running the ball a little bit there, bud, because it definitely works sometimes. We definitely got to get this run game going, and that kind of is an extension of the offensive line argument. But like I said, because you don't have to go against Max Crosby, it's less of a threat, and your main worry is Christian Wilkins. So, if you can double team him, get a pulling blocker on him to kind of take him out of an outside zone type of situation, type of scheme, then you definitely can get some stuff going. And if you can get the run game going that takes pressure off the offensive line, they're gonna have to press up the box a little bit, and then that'll open it up for guys like Cooper or Jerry Jeudy or Jordan Akins or whatever direction we go in terms of this pass game. But yeah, I would say getting the run game going is a big deal.
Yeah, buddy. I almost put that again on mine, but I was like, I just don't have faith that it's gonna happen. But we need to make something happen, though, the way the freaking offense looked. I mean, either Watson's going to have to finally throw for at least 200 yards, or we're going to have to get at least a combined 100 yards rushing on the ground between Foreman, Ford, and Watson.
Yeah, definitely. But, let's swing it back over to old Logan. What's your feeling on a second key to victory for the Browns?
So my second
for the Raiders.
Or for the Raiders, that's true. Sorry, I'm used to doing this with just Austin.
Is getting the ball to our playmakers. We have Devonta Adams. He's a top 5 receiver in the NFL.
You
we
don't
have
this
Brock
week,
Bowers. Hey, in general at the moment. We
Yeah.
do still have Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer in the
Yeah,
pass
he's a
game.
stud.
We primarily use Brock Bowers as a slot receiver. I think we can definitely still get him the ball a little bit more than we have in the first 3 weeks. But if we get him involved, Mayer involved, and establish Alexander Madison in the run game mixed in with Zamir White, I do definitely think we're going to give the Browns a lot of headaches up front there.
Yeah, Bowers definitely worries me quite a bit because he's going to be not just us. I think he's a matchup problem for most teams in the league. I think he's
Absolutely.
going to be quite a stud. So I do worry about that matchup a bit.
Yeah, it's Brock Bowers is definitely my biggest concern in terms of the Raiders' offense. I like Zamir White, but I have decent enough confidence in our front four to contain the rushing attack of the Raiders. But yeah, Brock Bowers is definitely someone, based on especially what you saw last week against the Giants, I could see him getting some space in the flats, getting him over the seam, and just let him go out there, get the ball, be physical, and create some problems. So this definitely might be a game where JOK has to shadow him at all times, because I'm a big fan of Brock Bowers, and I really liked that pick when the Raiders made that selection, and he's been very, very good for them this year. So he's definitely an interesting matchup that we're going to have to take care of. So that'll definitely be intriguing as we get in to the game. But with that, what's your last key to victory there, Austin?
So my final key here is get to the quarterback. Last year, as me and Draven know, I'm not sure if you watched the Browns game against the Colts last year, Logan, but he made frickin' Miles in particular, made frickin' Minshew's life an absolute living hell. He was out there frickin' getting strip sacks in the end zone. He had the blocked field goal. Frickin' just our whole defensive line was all over him that entire game. So if we can kind of get in his head a bit, I don't know how much Miles is going to actually play this week because he is kind of dinged up, but if we can get to him a bit and pressure him, kind of do a little bit of what we did last year when he was in Indy, I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, he definitely carved us up a bit last year, in some spots. Looking back on that was a weird ass game. Didn't we win that game like 39-38 or some weird shit, and Myles Garrett had that blocked field goal?
Yeah, didn't Deshaun start that game and like got knocked out after the first drive, and then that's when PJ came in?
Yeah, that was when his shoulder was still hurt, and he tried to throw like one pass downfield, and it was like 30 yards short, and we're like, all right, let's get this guy out
Miles
here.
was insane, man. He literally like freaking jumped over the line to block that field goal like Palomalu style and freaking took it over.
Right.
Freaking hopefully Minshew's having Vietnam flashbacks of Myles Garrett this week.
Yeah, Minshew definitely did give us some problems last year, but you are correct in the fact that we were able to give him problems in terms of just getting him rattled, getting him, putting a lot of pressure on him, and that was with a Colts team that I feel had a better offensive line at that time than the Raiders do now. Not that the Raiders have some bad offensive line. I just personally, it's just how I feel.
I don't have a Quentin Nelson.
Yeah, that is true.
We do have a Colton Miller.
Yeah,
they do have a
he's
Colton
stud.
Miller. He is pretty solid, but I would like to see that front four give him some issues. Since he is such a conservative quarterback, if you could like really keep him in that box and just put a bunch of pressure on him, he is definitely a guy that you could make crumble. But
yeah.
At the same time, Gardner Minshew's kind of a weird quarterback. He could go into this week and put up 350 and 4 tutties on us. I would not be shocked whatsoever.
I hope the hell not. We need to get a damn interception. If we're going into week 5 with no interception, still I'm going to be pulling my fucking hair out.
Yeah.
You guys have a pick this year?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, we've had
like 3 or 4 dropped.
And then we had the Ronnie Hickman interception last week that got called back for that shitty roughing the passer.
That horrible roughing the passer. Yeah, freaking Newsome barely hit the quarterback, and they threw a roughing the passer.
He like tapped him on the shoulder, and he said "rough the passer," but whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll get into my final key to victory, and my final key to victory for the Browns here is let's get some turnovers as kind of an extension into what you were saying there. Is we got to force some turnovers, especially through the pass game. We've forced a couple fumbles. That's about it. and that ain't good. I want to see Denzel Ward out there doing his thing. We need Martin Emerson to kind of have a bounce back week because he did get carved up a bit last week. I am a little worried about Greg Newsome, I'll be honest, with the matchup against someone like Jacoby Myers, just because I feel like he's the style of receiver that can give Newsome problems. However, if Newsome's primarily lined up in the slot, hopefully he won't see him too much. But I would like to see our corners be aggressive, go out there, try and make plays. We need to force some interceptions. I want Delpit up in the box, cracking people. I want him doing his thing. And I like Ronnie Hickman a lot as a deep free safety when we need him there. So I hope maybe he can make a play here and there. We know what we can get with this front four. We know what we can get out of our linebackers. But in terms of the pass game, especially downfield, we got to cause some problems. We got to really, really make the offense pay for trying to take shots against us. And as Logan was saying, he was saying that, with some of the weapons he has in this Raiders unit, he could definitely see them giving us some issues, and I could too. But I feel like if we're aggressive and are really hyper physical with them, I think we can definitely cause some issues.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I think we need one of those like vaunted Cleveland Browns defense games where we just come out and just absolutely out physical them the whole time, because we had a lot of those last year. We've seen glimpses of it this year, but we need one of those games where the defense is just lights out from beginning to end.
Yeah, I absolutely, I definitely agree with you there. So hopefully we see it. I'm going to turn it one more time to our boy Logan here. All right, sir, what's your final key to victory for the Raiders?
My final key is keeping the blind side clean for Gardner Minshew the entire game. You guys talked about trying to have Myles Garrett rush the quarterback a little bit, and he was giving Gardner Minshew problems last time he played in Cleveland. I don't believe he's going to have that bad of an issue with a all-pro tackle like Colton Miller. And I believe an all-rookie candidate in Jackson Powers-Johnson at left guard also helping chip block on that side.
Right, yeah.
I mean, you might be right, man. With Myles up to, it's been in and out of the lineup a little bit. Like, we might not be playing him on a lot of downs. I mean, we might use him sparingly on third downs when we need to try to get off the field. So, I mean, it could be an interesting game. We might have to move him around a bit, get him in motion.
Maybe.
Yeah, I definitely could see you guys, throwing a chip, throwing a tight end, having the running back be in play in terms of trying to help out, contain Myles Garrett. Or you could just take the approach that most teams do and just aggressively hug him to the ground every play, because, you might only get called for one holding call if you do that. So, you know what, Logan, that might be a method for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, an all-pro tackle is an all-pro tackle for a reason.
That is true. If someone's gonna help slow down Myles, it would be somebody like Colton Miller. But with that, I think that sums up our keys to victory. Why don't we get into our official predictions before we get on out of here? Who wants to go first?
Let's let Logan go first because he's got the Raiders score.
All right, Logie, what's your score prediction?
So I've thought about this last couple days, and I believe the final score is going to be about roughly 17-24 Raiders. I do believe Deshaun's going to have one of these games of he's going to hold on to the quarterback a little bit too long and not trust his offensive line quite as much as he probably should. And I think with that, even with Crosby being out, I still think we're going to be able to get to you guys, and he's going to get flustered early and frustrated.
Yep, as the whole season's gone so far. And very well could happen.
Yeah, that point about Watson is definitely a very realistic thought. I don't want to see that happen. I don't want to be 1-3. I feel like the city of Cleveland will go into an absolute panic.
Yeah, 1-3 is not good, man. I mean, if they're missing literally, I think quite literally outside of Colton Miller, your best offensive player and your best defensive player, if you come out of this game 1-3, I mean, it ain't gonna be good. It's already been hell listening to like local Cleveland radio. It's gonna be an absolute mess.
Might be time to hit the panic button.
Might be time to go full Carolina Panthers in this bitch.
All right, relax, fucking chill. All right, dude. Goddamn.
You guys could always make a trade.
That's true. Shit, what's Andy Dalton want these days?
Hold on. Well, hold on. We don't even know what Jameis Winston looks like if he has to get in there. So let's slow down.
Yeah, that's true.
But
wouldn't this be the week to try him out?
It could be. I really do feel like if Watson starts to lay another stinker, that like we're any game away from him getting pulled. Because
I don't know, man.
I know ownership
heavily
really wants Watson to work out, but I feel like at some point Stefanski's smart enough that he would just pull him if he's shitting himself. But you know what? Getting off track. All right, Austin.
Yeah.
How do you think this game's gonna go?
I am gonna say the Browns win by a final score of 24-14. I originally was gonna come out. I thought I was gonna have like a crazy prediction and say we won like 30-7 or something, but I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the defense will be pretty damn good. I think we're gonna have a handful of sacks. I think JOK is gonna have a pretty dang good game again this week. I just hope Martin Emerson can kind of bounce back from his bad performance against Malik Neighbors last week, but I think he will. I think the defense will be solid. I think Amari Cooper is going to continue to be very good with Deshaun Watson, and I think we're finally going to have a game where we aren't having a buckload of holds like the one game, what was it, 2 weeks ago, where it felt like every damn play for about a 6-play stretch was an offensive holding.
Yeah, God.
So, yeah, that was absolutely abysmal. I mean, we went from like a 1st and 5, I think it was, to a 3rd and like damn near 40. But
yeah, it was awful.
Oh, it sucked. Yeah, it was horrible. And I still don't have faith in the offensive line. I don't know what to expect with Watson. I mean, he's been pretty ass so far his entire Browns career, but if we can figure something out for one game, whether it's Bitonio at left tackle, I think Zinter's going to be fine at right guard. Draven and I were kind of talking earlier. I think the Wyatt Teller era in Cleveland might be about done. I think Zinter's going to take the spot, and I don't think he's going to give it back. So I think he'll be good, but it's really going to be those tackles, man. I mean, what do you do at left tackle? What are you going to do at right tackle? If we can hold up even an iota, I think we'll have a chance to win.
No, I definitely agree. There's definitely a good bit of ways we can win this game. There's also a good bit of ways we can lose this game. But I have to make a pick either way. I definitely agree that I still think the offensive line will have some issues. I feel like we might be able to run the ball a little bit better this week. However, I do see Watson taking a few sacks, holding on to the ball a bit long as well, and kind of also maybe bailing from pockets a little early. But I trust our talent against a team like the Raiders to be able to prevail. I feel like the defense will cause enough issues. I do think we get an interception this week. It's my hunch. Even though I do think Minshew will actually have a relatively decent game just because he's very conservative and he makes good decisions majority of the time. But I think we can force him into throwing maybe a boneheaded interception. I'm not really afraid of their run game. So I feel like it's going to come down to the Raiders having to try and take shots downfield against this defense. And I feel like we're well equipped to not allow that to happen because luckily we don't have a Malik Neighbors to worry about. We don't have a Devontae Adams to worry about. So I do think the defense will kind of carry us through. I think offensively it'll be really sloppy. And I got a bit of a weird score prediction. I do think the Browns are going to win this one by a score of 17-12.
Okay. I thought you were going to say 3-2.
3-2.
Goals, huh?
Yeah. I feel like that there's going to be a handful of drives where, like I said, Minshew makes smart decisions. He's able to get the Raiders into plus territory, but I could see them stalling out a good handful of times. And I predict your kicker will go 4 for 5 on field goals. I think he'll miss one just because it'll happen. And then
Daniel Carlson. Interesting.
Hey, Justin Tucker's been kind of butt this year. Every kicker's got to have their day where they struggle a bit. And plus,
I think this, too, with it being week 4, should finally be about the time where you start to see some of these quarterbacks figure it out a bit. Our guy didn't, obviously, a lot of starting quarterbacks didn't play in the preseason, so I count almost the first 3 games of the regular season as your 3 preseason games, so now you got to figure shit out.
Right.
Plus, Crosby, like, I think, honestly, if he was playing and even Devontae was out, I think I might pick the Raiders. Just with how horrendous our offensive line's been. I mean, I don't care if he lines up on the right or the left. He was going to get 3 to 4 sacks, in my opinion. So the fact that he's out, I think it changes the entire game. Like, I might have ended up coming out here and predicting the Raiders win 21-17 if Crosby was playing.
Yeah, if Crosby was playing, I might have leaned the Raiders. I might have also leaned Browns. If Crosby and Devontae were playing, I definitely probably would have picked the Raiders. So I'm just going to preface that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said, that's your 2 best players, literally, outside of your left tackle, so.
Definitely feels like a year you guys are going to take a tackle in the first round.
It could be a quarterback, depending on
Deshaun. To be our
Deshaun.
tackle. Yeah, no kidding, God.
We could see Quinn Ewers in a Browns uniform. Who knows?
Yeah, man.
Great player.
It's concerning that we don't have depth at the tackle positions. Like, for as great as I think Andrew Berry is, like, especially coming off of last year, I think he should have been a little bit more prepared for something like this to happen.
Yeah, I definitely agree. But do you got either of you fellers have any closing thoughts you want to give before we jump on out of here?
If we lose, this is the last time. podcast.
Last time we're doing the podcast.
I didn't say that. I said the last time you'll hear me on the Browns podcast. We'll do Guardians still.
Oh, I got you. You're just no longer a Browns fan. I got it.
Yeah, I'm retiring. I might join the Las
The
Las Vegas Raiders, whatever the fuck they're called nowadays. Jesus Christ.
I don't know, man. I think it's a little bit easier being a Browns fan these days than a Raider fan.
Yeah, I mean another
That
team
might be
that
true.
is fucking pulled out of Oakland for no reason.
Yeah, God, that's so sad.
They really lost. They don't have any teams left. Did they lose every single franchise they had?
Yes.
Everyone.
Because they lost the Warriors, twice? They lost the frickin' A's now, and the Raiders. They lost twice, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, my God. Can you imagine being a fan in Oakland right now?
I couldn't imagine living in Oakland.
God.
It's absolutely horrible.
California in general would be an interesting place to live.
It's a whole
Yeah, I
new
know.
world out there, man.
Yeah.
You got all these teams to root for. You got frickin' 3 or 4.
You got the
NBA
Kings at the
franchises
top of
in
the list.
California. Yeah, you got the Warriors, the King. You got so many.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time to be an Oaklander. But we appreciate you guys for listening once again. We hope you enjoyed our thoughts. Hope you enjoyed the opposing view from our buddy here, Logan, who, like I said, diehard Raiders fan or diehard Raiders. How do I say this?
He was almost a Falcons fan a couple years ago. You remember that?
Oh, it was rough, man. It was rough.
Yeah, I remember.
It's hard seeing first rounder after first rounder not work.
That. Hey,
Yeah, hey,
we know
been
about
there.
that. But
We sure do.
But yeah, once again, we appreciate you guys for listening, and we're excited to see what this game looks like this weekend. Then we'll have our post-game recap, and Logan, of course, you're more than welcome to join for the post-game thoughts. So that'll be cool if you're down, sir.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, sounds good to me. And with that, you have been watching another episode of Cold Takes from the Land, and we will see you in the next one.